everyone, welcome to Friday Fun. I'm right behind the chicken coop area behind the sheds. And we're over here for a very special reason today because today we're going to be learning about raccoons. And raccoons would like to eat chickens or chicken eggs, but they're well protected and they're not even here yet. You can look in there, the chicken coop is there, but they won't be coming a couple more months because it has to be a bit warmer before the mosquitoes start breeding. And that's what they're here for. Over here, I'm right behind one of the sheds. And it's not the most lovely location, but we're talking about raccoons, and I wanted to show you why we're here. The raccoons dig under the sheds to make their home. And you can see that the staff tries to block them. But the thing is, raccoons, for their size, are super strong and super smart. This isn't going to stop them. They can move some of this wood, and they can dig a little deeper. If Miss Susan comes a little closer, she can see they can scoot right through that little hole. Even though they can puff themselves up quite big, they can also make themselves quite skinny and slide right in there. And that makes a very well protected home. The rain doesn't fall on them, and it can stay pretty warm, and the babies are pretty safe. It'd be hard for predators to get in there. Raccoons are super smart. Now, the staff tries to keep them out of there because they don't want it to dig so much that the ground might sink and the shed might sink into the ground. So now I've shown you one place where the raccoons live here in the preserve. And now we're going to go and look around for some other places that they could possibly live or what they might eat, some of their predators, and we might look for some tracks. So we walked over into the center of the marsh, the area does not have any water yet, and we're hoping it's going to get some. It's not the deepest area. Way back behind Miss Susan is a little bit deeper. But we stopped over here because we saw some tules that are not underwater yet. And the tules can make a great place for the raccoon to make a home. He can kind of wiggle in between them, and I don't know, there could be one in there right now, and make a home deep inside the tules and be very well hidden. Raccoons often make several different den sites, and they can move from one to another depending on which one suits their needs. So maybe the same raccoon that lives under the shed could also use this as a den site, kind of like a camping area. I don't know. It's good over here because they'll be closer to the crayfish, which is their favorite food, and they also like to eat the frogs, and they like to eat sometimes little snails, maybe worms. They're not very picky. They also eat some nuts, and if they can find some berries or any kind of fruit. And if they're living in the city, they have no trouble getting into a trash can and looking for leftover scraps. So let's look at a couple pictures of raccoons. So here's a typical raccoon, and you'll see that his hands are in the water. Now, they don't necessarily like to live in the water, although they can swim. But what he's doing is he has something to eat, and he's exploring it before he eats it. So let's say it's a frog. It's like he can taste with his fingers rather than with his tongue, making sure that this is what he wants to eat, and he eats it. Now remember that raccoons are usually out at night. They're nocturnal, so we don't see them out in the daytime very often. So this must have been like early morning, and this one maybe has some kits or some baby raccoons back in the den. So maybe she's extra hungry because she has to make extra milk for the babies. Another photo I want to show you is a close-up of the face and the fur. We call raccoons the masked bandits because they have like a little black mask, kind of like a Halloween mask. Now the colors of the fur can be different, but they all have this black, sometimes dark brown, but sometimes black mask around their eyes and a black nose, and usually a little black line here. And then the fur can be gray and black and brown and tan, and any mixture of those things. And the last picture I want to show you is what you might see around your house. They love to get into pet food or water, garbage, and they're really good at using our homes, our neighborhoods, for their houses. Sometimes they can even break through the roof to come into the attic area to make a den. And this is not a good thing for your house because now you're going to have a hole in the roof and the rain will come in and you can hear them up there making a lot of noise. So you have to get some kind of cage and trap them and move them to a location that's not in the neighborhood if they're trying to live in your house. But in the wild, they make little areas like here in the tules. And this is perfect because there's lots of big trees around. We'll have to turn a little bit and you can see the willow trees. And raccoons are excellent climbers. So they can go up in the trees. They can look for insects or maybe nests to steal some eggs. Or maybe they can find other little animals and little animals on the ground. They can eat mice or rats or gophers if they can catch them. And they're ferocious when they fight. If they were going to have a fight, they will probably win. They are very, very, very good fighters. And they have big, sharp teeth. So this I thought would be a great place to do the story. Nice and quiet here, and we have the nice tules right behind us. And our story today is called Secret Pizza Party. Poor raccoon, all he wants in life is some pizza. Look at him outside the window of the pizza parlor. If he only knew how to ask politely. And the shop owner is scaring him off with a broom. See how he opened the trash can and found a little bit of pizza? Ah, pizza. So beautiful, you could hang it on the wall of a museum. So convenient, you could eat it in the bathtub. Of course, the best part about pizza is the gooey cheesiness, the salty pepperoniness, the sweet, sweet tomato-ness, and the crispy, crunchy crust. Yum. Sorry, raccoon, I didn't mean to rub it in. Hey, cheer up. I just had a great idea. Let's throw a pizza party at your house. Shh, don't tell anyone. This will be a secret pizza party. I know what you're thinking. Why would we keep such a delicious, delicious party a secret? Okay, sure. It's so folks don't show up and bonk you with brooms. But that's not the only reason. When you make something a secret, you make it special. Regular handshake, boring. Secret handshake, booyah. Regular staircase, tiring. Secret staircase, terrific. Regular pizza party, get that raccoon off the table. Secret pizza party, get that raccoon another slice of pizza. He is the guest of honor. Hot diggity dog, our pizza party is going to be so much fun. Call the pizza man and tell him to bring over his absolute finest pizza pie. Hang on a minute. You don't want the delivery guy to know where you live. He might recognize you from the posters and chase you off with a broom. This is called a wanted poster. He's supposed to be a criminal. Think, raccoon, think. Maybe he'll do a disguise. Okay, now play it cool. You're just an honest pizza-buying citizen who left his wallet in the car. The pizza man thinks that you'll be right back. Let's go. I planned the perfect getaway route. Around the broom factory, over the broom enthusiast club, past the raccoon sniffing broom bots. Oh, wait a second. Raccoon sniffing broom bots. Uh-oh. Robots. Run, raccoon, run like the wind. The robots are shooting brooms at him. But he still has his pizza. Phew, we made it. Let's barricade the doors and pop open that pizza box. Secret pizza party. Oops, I said that kind of loud. Sorry, pizza smell gives me such happy screams. Try not to crunch too loud. Definitely no high-fiving or music or dancing. In fact, we better turn off the lights and whisper, just to be safe. Secret pizza party. What's the matter? Sweet, sassy molasses. Look at all that pizza. Clearly, these people are much better at throwing parties than they are at keeping secrets. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? And the sign says secret pizza party. And look, they're wearing masks. So he's thinking, he has a mask. Okay, you're in. Just play it cool. No one suspects a thing. He held up a little stick to pretend his mask was like this one on a stick. That's pretty funny. Uh-oh. I think he got a little carried away. Secret pizza party! Fun story, huh? Crazy, silly story. So I think we're going to look around at some of the trees and we're going to see if we can find some more things that raccoons might eat or some predators that might hunt the raccoon. So we were walking down the path and I looked over here and I saw an animal trail. Can you see how the grass is flattened through here? That's not certainly anywhere a person would have walked. But there's like a little tunnel through this flattened grass. It's an animal trail. And inside there's some good shelter. Possibly a raccoon, maybe a skunk, maybe even a possum. But we can look for the animal trails while we're out in the preserve. Wow, I wanted to show you something about camouflage. Look at this. At first you hardly see it. Here's the skin of a raccoon. We call it a pelt. It's very nice and soft. So it looks really flat because there's no animal inside. But I wanted to put him on the tree and just give you an idea of how well he's camouflaged. And also remember, he's going to be out at night. And at night, that'd be pretty hard to see him. I know that when I've come out on the preserve at night with a flashlight, sometimes the way you find the animals is the flashlight will make their eyes look kind of red in the reflection. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to find them at all. So this is our raccoon pelt, and I'd love for you to feel it, but you can see some of the colors. It has some browns, tan. The mask on this one is a little more brown than black. Here's the raccoon pelt. If you come to our museum once the nature center is open again, this will be laying out in the museum and you can feel it. It's really nice and soft. So we're walking and we found this sandy ground. Let's see if there's some tracks. Oh, look, I do see some tracks. And they look like they're pointing this way. Are there any more? There are, and they are raccoon tracks. I see one here and here and here. This is probably the best one. And here. So if the fingers are pointing this direction, they must be going that way. And of course, that's where the water is. So after finding them in the sand, we decided to walk toward the water and see if there were any tracks in the mud. Let's go have a look. So here we are coming up to the water, and you can tell there's been a lot of activity. I see footprints from people. Oh, that one looks like an old duck footprint. Let's see if we can find this one. Looks a little like a possum, a little different than a raccoon because it has a thumb on the end. Can you see this thumb over here? Looks like a little people hand almost. This one is a possum. Let's keep looking, see if we can find any raccoons because they always bring their food toward the water. Oh, look over here. Look at these, some raccoon footprints. These are great. Let me circle one for you just in case you're having trouble seeing it. Here's the raccoon footprint right in the circle. Here's the other foot. The front feet and the back feet are a little different shaped. So he'll come to the water, have his food in the water, and sometimes people think they're washing their food, but really they're just sort of tasting it and exploring it before they eat it. So we found some raccoon prints. What a pretty spot. And there's two geese out on the island. I wonder if they're thinking about making a nest there. And some mallard ducks dipping their heads down, grabbing some plants underneath the water. Look at these ducks. Look at how he goes upside down and then pulls the plants back up. That's how they're eating. Call it dabbling. Okay, let's look around for something else. Now, if the raccoon was hungry, he might try to get a duck, but ducks are harder to get. But ducklings, those are pretty easy to get. And if he could be lucky enough to find the nest tucked away in some of those tules, he can swim and he'd go out there and get the eggs for sure. Well, and if he didn't go swimming, maybe later in the summer, he might find some crayfish. And I found some shells of a crayfish right over here. There's a couple of claws. And when they eat the crayfish, they just tear the claws off because there's not much meat in there. They're going straight for the tail. They'll eat the tail. These are crayfish claws, or what's left of them. And they won't be big like this till the middle or late summer. So here we're looking over toward the car wash on Madrona Avenue. And we have some mallard ducks in the water, and behind them is an egret. The great egret is right there next to the tree. We're going to keep an eye on him because maybe he just might fly. Those wings are so big and they spread out. He's probably looking for a frog. He's closer to the water. So we're walking down the path and Miss Susan goes, look, there's a frog. And I wanted to pick it up because a frog is something the raccoon eats. There he goes. And this one's a girl. Maybe she's a little fat with eggs. Maybe it's about time for her to lay her eggs in the marsh so they can be little tadpoles. The frogs that we have here in the preserve are called Pacific tree frogs, and they can change color. So this one right here was in all this dark leaf stuff on the ground, and let's see how it can camouflage. It's so difficult to see. It has some great camouflage, but if it was in a really green area, it can turn green. Look what we found. We were looking for little hideouts, little dens. Do you see the animal trail that goes straight in there where there's no grass and underneath the bush? That's how they get in. They sneak in and they can hide in there. I'm trying to see if I can see anybody in there right now. I don't really, but could be. They're well camouflaged. So we're walking through the preserve and I'm looking all around for any little nice places for a raccoon to make a den. And we got under this tree and then I saw this. And at first I thought, well, that looks kind of like an old piece of poop. Sometimes we have some animals like coyotes and the fur would be in their poop. But I looked more carefully and that's not poop. What this is an owl pellet. There are little bits of fur and bone, everything that went into the owl's stomach when he ate it. So if he catches a mouse or a rat at night, he tears it apart and swallows all the pieces whole, fur and bones and teeth and everything. But his body has a way of taking the fur and the bones away from the meat of the animal, and then it collects it in a special area of the owl, and then the owl can burp it back up. And so this will fall to the ground as called an owl pellet. And the rest of it will go through his digestion, and then he does big white splashy poops like you'd seen a regular bird poop, only a lot bigger. So this is the owl pellet of the great horned owl. Great horned owl is big, and this is a big pellet. Some of the owls that are smaller, they make smaller pellets. So let's go into the museum, and I'll show you what the great horned owl looks like. So we walked into the nature center and into our little museum to show you a couple more things. Remember we just talked about the owl pellet and how it burps up the food and the bones? Well, let me show you what the owl burp this up looks like. This is the great horned owl, and he's big. And if Miss Susan can zoom in on those claws, you can see how strong and how dangerous he can be. This great horned owl can actually be a predator to a raccoon. And if we look down the case a little bit, here's a full-grown raccoon. That looks almost bigger than the owl. But I've heard they can get them, and maybe for sure they could get the young raccoons, the ones that are just not quite that big yet. And then we also saw the other paw print, the one that had the thumb of the possum. And this right here is a possum. And if we look back on the back feet, we can kind of see how there's a thumb on the back of his feet. kind of sticks out to the side. And this one had some longer claws. The paw print that we saw you couldn't really see the claw marks very well. So the last thing I was thinking about doing was, would you like me to open up the owl pellet and we can check out the bones? I'm going to have to go and get a dish, and we can do that in the lab. So now I'm in our lab, which is a smaller classroom than the regular classroom. And this is where we do all kinds of stuff with microscopes and other science projects. So I got this tray, and I've got my owl pellet here. I have a knife, and I have my tweezers, or we call them forceps. And we're going to take it apart. So when you look on the outside, I can see little itty bits of bone and fur. I'm going to break it open, and look what we find inside. Look at these bones. These are probably rib bones. These little ones. Look at that. Ribs are what you have right under your chest. Let's see what else we can find. Breaks open pretty easy. I'm seeing a lot of fur and more rib bones. Let's see if we can find something else. And this one with the little bit of round one, that one's part of the backbone. All the way through our spine, through our backbone, there's a hole that goes down the middle, and our spinal cord goes through there. All mammals have that. Let's see, what's this? This is kind of a bigger bone. Oh, maybe that's like it could be part of the head. Oh yes, I think it was, because there is part of the jaw. See the little teeth? Whoops. Oops. There's little tiny teeth in that. The jaw is the lower bone of your mouth. So when you're talking and your chin goes down, the jaw has the teeth in it. Let's see what else we can find. What's this? Oh, this is the other piece of the jaw. See the teeth? There's the teeth. What else can we find? So must have broke the skull, the whole head. Must have broke that off into more than one piece. Oh, it was another jaw. So, and you can see that these two are closer in size. This one is smaller. So this maybe was a rat, and this maybe was a mouse. So when you look through the bones, and this one looks like a leg bone, you can find the different animals. And when an owl is out hunting at night, he doesn't eat just one thing. He eats many different things. So we can see what else we can find in here. Oh my gosh, so much fur and stuff sort of tied together. There's something kind of big right here. See if I can get the fur off of it. I opened it up, and what is it? I'm not sure. Here's another leg bone. And this looks like another jawbone. No, maybe not. Maybe that's another rib. You can get really good at learning bones by going through these kind of owl pellets. So that's pretty interesting, isn't it? Maybe when you get a little older, one time you'll have an opportunity to dissect an owl pellet, and then the puzzle is trying to put the whole animal back together by the bones, which is a real fun thing to do. Well, I hope you enjoyed the lesson on raccoons today. Thank you for coming to Friday Fun. We'll see you next time.